Good afternoon and welcome to the January 27th, 2022 inaugural meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional Hospital District. I would like to call the meeting to order at 1:03 p.m. and acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District is within the territory of the Sechelt and Squamish First Nations. Our first order of business will be election of the chair. The procedure for election of the chair is set out by the Board Procedures Bylaw, which states that at each inaugural meeting, the corporate officer will call for nominations for chair and will conduct a vote by secret ballot. If only one candidate is nominated, that candidate will be declared elected by acclamation. I will call for nominations 3 times. At the close of nominations, if more than one candidate has been nominated, each will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board in favor of their candidacy, and in the order the nominations were received. If an election by voting is required, an election by electronic ballot will be held. Directors have been briefed on the procedure to submit an electronic ballot in advance of this meeting. Once the results have been recorded, we will inform the board if there is a successful candidate. A majority of votes of members present is required to elect the chair, which means that one of the candidates must receive at least 5 votes in order to be elected. If no one receives at least 5 votes, the vote is repeated. When the voting is repeated, all names will remain on the ballot unless a nominee withdraws. Are there any questions from the board with respect to the process? Would the board members like to know how many votes each candidate receives? And if so, would one of the directors please make a motion to that effect? Okay, seeing no hands and hearing no questions, I will call a first time for nominations for the position of chair for the Sunshine Coast Regional Hospital District. Director Ties.
I nominate Darnelda Seegers.
Chair Seegers, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Thank you. I will now call for nominations a second time. I will now call for Director Ties. No? Okay. I will now call for nominations a third and final time. Okay, there being no further nominations, I declare Chair Seegers elected as chair of the Sunshine Coast Regional District by acclamation.
Thank you very much. Regional Hospital District, yes.
Hospital District, yeah.
I will now turn the meeting over to the newly elected chair to conduct the election of the vice chair for the Regional Hospital District.
Thank you to my fellow directors. I appreciate the support. So the election of the vice chair will follow the same procedure as the election of the chair. At the close of nominations, if more than one candidate has been nominated, each candidate will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board in favor of their candidacy and in the order of the nominations, were received. If an election by voting is required, directors will cast their vote by electronic ballot. A majority of the votes of the members present is required to elect the vice chair, which means that one of the candidates must receive at least 5 votes, or the majority of those present, to be elected. If no one receives at least 5 votes, the vote is repeated. When the voting is repeated, all names remain on the ballot unless a nominee withdraws. So I will call a first time for nominations for the position of vice chair for the Sunshine Coast Regional Hospital District. Director Beamish.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Elvina Paul.
Director Paul, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Thank you. Are there any other names for nomination for vice chair for the Sunshine Coast Regional Hospital District? So I'll call for nominations for a third time. Are there any nominations for the position of vice chair for the Sunshine Coast Regional Hospital District? All right, there being no further nominations, I declare Director Elvina Paul elected as Vice Chair of the Sunshine Coast Regional Hospital District Board by acclamation.
Nice to see you all. Sorry I've been absent. I've been under the weather a bit, sadly.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Beamish.
No, thank you for accepting. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. Did we adopt the agenda? Okay, I'd look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And first up is the minutes of the Sunshine Coast Regional Hospital District meeting of October 28th, Annex A, pages 1 through 2. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? If not, I'd look for a motion to receive and adopt. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? All right, seeing none, we have a delegation. So I'm going to bring them into the room. So welcome TJ Sheehan and Emily G. This is with regards to the Coastal Recovery Community. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you. I'll let Emily go ahead with her intro.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us and letting us share what we're doing here. I'm just going to give a brief introduction about myself. My name's Emily. I joined Coastal Recovery Community back in August. I moved here in June from the mainland. Prior to moving here, I worked at ECOM, which is the 911 Center for British Columbia, where I was a 911 police call taker for the island, the Sunshine Coast, Whistler, Squamish, Pemberton, and everything from West Vancouver over to Abbotsford. Prior to that, I went to school in Surrey and got a diploma in a Police Foundations program where I took everything under the Police Foundations umbrella: criminology, psychology, crime investigation, cultural management, a bunch of stuff, which was really fun. And then I worked at ECOM, and earlier this year, I just wanted a little bit of a shift. So I moved over to the coast, and I met TJ and Dana, and they told me about this project that they've been working on, and I joined on board. And now here we are today. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to hand it over to TJ so he can give more of a background of what we're doing. Thank you again.
Thanks, Emily. Hi, everyone. My name is TJ. I grew up here on the Sunshine Coast. I left when I was about 15, moved to Alberta. Recently moved back in 2019. I had a small business here on the coast. In 1 week, I had 4 of my very close friends overdose and pass away. And I knew I needed to do something. So I was able to sell my business for a small profit and be able to start this project. I wish I was here under different circumstances today. With regards to our project, we've been working since September on this, getting our assisted living application, all our policies and procedures, documents, getting the building up to code. And it seems after, multiple hoops that we've tried to jump through and do everything right, that we are not going to be able to open up the treatment facility the way that we had hoped with overnight clients due to zoning. So we've brainstormed a little bit and pivoted to the idea of opening up a day center. When we first started this project, we looked for a residential house. And there's just nothing on the coast. There was nothing available. And as soon as you mentioned addiction, the stigma, it wasn't possible. We had a great facility here in Gibson's, a perfect location. It just seems that the zoning is not going to allow us to operate under the circumstances that we were hoping. So now, we have a choice. We're not going to give up. This community needs our support. There's something needs to be done. The addiction opioid crisis is running rampant through our beautiful Sunshine Coast. And now I guess we're kind of looking for some advice, some brainstorming. We have this beautiful facility down here in Gibson's that's ready to go. We actually had to turn away some clients who were ready for recovery. And now we're having to pivot. And, we're hoping to do a day program that's going to focus on youth in the community, maybe some after school programs, youth addiction, bullying, mentorship, also counseling, recovery coaching, and interventions. Also, we'd like to do some domestic violence and women anger management courses. So we're basically back to the drawing boards. We've been working at this for 6 months and we're ready to open. And now we're having to kind of go back to square one financially because we're a benefit corporation. We don't qualify for a lot of grants. I funded this solely out of my pocket, out of my savings, because of my passion for recovery. And I guess where we're at now is we're kind of at a standstill, and we're reaching out to the community to give us some advice. Where are the gaps that need to be filled? What can we do? We have this perfect facility here in Gibson's, and so we're just looking for your input. I really appreciate your guys' time, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Directors, any questions or comments? So I understand you have a building on a piece of land, but the zoning does not conform to what you want to do with it. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So when we first started this, it was under our impression that we were exempt from zoning because of the type of care that we were providing. As we move forward, put some money into the building, and graciously got our landlord's permission, which was very lucky because of the stigma. We kept going. Then we were told we needed sprinklers, and a similar facility in the city faced the same obstacles. We reached out to MLA Mike Starchuk, who was an ex-fire chief in Surrey, and we determined that we did not need sprinklers. We brought that back to the planning department, and then we were told that we need to do all types of structural upgrades, fire cladding, basically bringing the building up to the 2022 building code, which that involves hiring engineers, inspections. It just becomes a financial burden that we can't afford. And unfortunately, this building's wheelchair accessible. With the care that we're offering, we're going to have up to 10 support staff. So to have 10 vehicles parking in a residential area, it just doesn't make sense. We have a huge parking lot here. We're right behind Vancouver Coastal Health. We're on a half acre of property. But unfortunately, the town of Gibson's has their policies and procedures for zoning, and it just doesn't work. The temporary use permit that we were going to try to apply for, the financial cost, and then back to the engineers, we're just, it's 6 months down the road before we could even get an answer. And it doesn't make sense for us to continue down that way.
Okay, so there are some hoops you need to jump through to get to that. Are you still going to, so you're looking to get up and running now with whatever programs you can that would support the community? And will you still be pursuing the long-term vision then?
Yes, we will be pursuing the long-term vision. I don't know if at this location, if that's what we're going to do, or try to seek out another location. Obviously, another location would be ideal. With the housing crisis and the stigma of addiction, it's very hard, but we are optimistic. And to have kind of two facilities would be, very beneficial. But for now, we're just trying to get up and running so that we can stay afloat and continue to pay our rent and continue to, get going. We've had too many delays, and it's, we're just about at our breaking point.
Thank you. Director McMahon?
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have more to offer here. If it hadn't been that I read Town of Gibson's agendas, I would not have heard of this project before. I don't think it's had much visibility on the coast. I mean, there's no question of the need. Absolutely none. And I can see the need particularly for men, because that's the majority of people who are being impacted by the opioid epidemic. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of ideas off the top of my head, but I certainly hope that you can move this forward.
Thank you. Director Hilt?
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. Yeah, a good project. And something that I don't understand, you mentioned a benefit corporation, and so the general thing that I'm asking is, what is this benefit corporation? What kind of support can you get from the province, VCH, the province? And you said you're not eligible for grant funding. So if you could kind of give me some background on that. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. So when we first started this project, we really did a bunch of research of how we were going to structure it, going nonprofit. And, because we're only a 4-bed facility, becoming a nonprofit, and the funding for people in recovery is $45 a day. So at 4 people, it just wouldn't make sense for us to take on ministry. A benefit corporation is a new type of corporation that is for profit. It only came out in June 2020, and a benefit corporation is committed to the sustainability of the community. So right in our articles, we have to explain exactly what our contribution is to the community, to be socially conscious. So that's what we decided. Persephone's is an example of a benefit corporation. They have their B Corp status. After 2 years, you can apply for B Corp status. There's only 2,500 in Canada right now. So we really wanted to be, something different and be able to give back to the community in a for-profit way, which would allow us to expand to another house for women, and then eventually, get a house for ministry. So that's basically what a benefit corporation is. Unfortunately, because it's so new and it is technically for profit, there are not any grants or funding available for that.
All right, directors, any further questions? All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming and presenting to us. As Director Hilt says, the information needs to get out. We need the community to know that you exist and what you're looking at doing, so that we can all get behind you and make sure that you're successful. So again, thank you very much for being here, and we'll
Thank you so much for having us. Really
watch
appreciate
for
it.
further information to come as you move forward.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4 in our package. This is Annex B, pages 3 through 18. It's MNP LLP 2021 Audit Service Plan, and we'll turn it over to Ms. Pearl.
Yes, thank you. So our new auditors, MNP, presented for the SCRD's audit plan back in November. So this particular one for the RHD is very straightforward and similar to the audit plan that was presented then. This particular plan is to outline the process and items that the auditors are going to be reviewing for the RHD. The RHD is quite a straightforward financial audit in that it only addresses sort of the capital contributions to Vancouver Coastal Health. And so included is the MNP audit report. If the board wants to have staff relay or wants to contact MNP directly on any items they want addressed, we can most certainly relay that. And so we can take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. Directors, any questions on the audit report? Audit service plan, sorry. All right, I don't see any questions. I'd look for a motion to receive the report. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And hang on, is there something else? I have to go back to that. Yes. On page 3, there is a recommendation that the audit service plan from MNP LLP with respect to the audit of the financial statements of the Sunshine Coast Regional Hospital District for the year ended December 31st, 2021 be approved as presented. Would someone like to make the recommendation? Thank you. Moved. Seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to Annex C. This is our Regional Hospital District 2022 meeting schedule. Again, over to Tina.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and corporate officer can chime in at any point. We haven't really done this before for the RHD, and we typically do it for the SCRD, and that is to establish the annual meeting schedule. So the meeting schedule for the RHD has happened in accordance to the memorandum of understanding that the RHD participates in with the other regional hospital districts as well as Vancouver Coastal Health, and there are certain types of dates that are for our hospital meetings to meet some of the criteria associated with any capital requests that the Vancouver Coastal Health may have. We also have some statutory meetings that we need to have from the RHD's perspective. So of course, our inaugural meeting that's happening today, ensuring that our financial statements and audits get presented and approved, our budget gets approved, etc. So the outline that is provided here on page 1920 outlines some of those. And of course, we can always have ad hoc meetings as required. So we are wanting to look to formalize the meeting schedule so we can make this public and available and is a little more proactive in nature.
Thank you. Directors, any questions, comments? Seeing none, there are 2 recommendations on page 19. Director Hiltz?
Sure, I'll move the just the one, just to consider for
Well-
adoption.
Yes, and well, and the receipt.
Right, so I'll move those.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the recommendations? Seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. That is the end of our agenda. I'd look for a motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Murray, for being here. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks.
And we'll see everybody else at 2 o'clock. All right. That was pretty painless.